Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel. I'm Lorena Creole, and I'm here with my co-host of Positive Fandom. And due to popular request from you guys from our reaction videos, we are going to react to Brahmastra Beginnings, that particular trailer. We did one for the Vision,
Mhm.
and a lot of you were like, you got to react to the Beginnings trailer. What did you think of the Vision trailer when you first saw it? Really quick.
I loved it. I thought that it told you what the idea that they had in mind and which direction they want to go. And we already know that there's going to be this Astraverse, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and how they're going to exactly make it come about. We know that there's a particular villain or a threat, and we also know that it's about this young character called named Shiva after a very important Indian god. So I thought that that one, trailer that they had was so incredibly informative and really exciting because it told you so much about, uh, you know, pretty much the basics of the story. And it's going to be more complicated because we haven't seen Indian cinema be sort of like a simple story ever. There's no such thing as a simple story, is there?
No, and it's so complex, and we love it. And even just from the trailer for Vision, we're just like, just leave us wanting more. So, one, we're glad that it's in English, definitely. And two, cannot wait to view this. So, without further ado, let's bring this up. So, first, we are going to react to this trailer, and then we, you know how we do on this channel, we're gonna break it down and analyze it, chew on it, think about it, and let you know our final thoughts.
The journey of Brahmastra began in 2011 on a writing trip in Shimla. My first feature film had released at that point, and I was working on the script of my second movie. I have always felt a very powerful energy, a strong spirituality in our mountains. And I truly believe
It's
that it is
beautiful.
from the energy of the Himalayas that the vision of Brahmastra was born. From the start, that
It's a
vision was to
trilogy.
create a very new, amazing kind of world for our Indian audiences with Brahmastra. A truly cinematic spectacle, unlike anything that had been created out of the Indian film industry before. A mystical, epic movie trilogy made up of images
Mm,
that could only be created with the most modern technology, but a film whose soul was deeply inspired by our ancient Indian roots,
Yeah.
our culture, our spirituality. Even in its earliest form, Brahmastra was a ridiculously ambitious idea. Nothing like it had ever been created out of India before. So there was no roadmap of how to do what I wanted to do.
wow.
I realized very early that the visual effects and the scale of movie I was imagining was totally out of reach, beyond the
Mm-hmm.
limits of where technology and film budgets were capped at in India.
True.
Pretty much everywhere, honestly.
Yeah.
But I always believed that if I somehow managed to overcome these challenges, and if I got the film right, that Brahmastra would be a truly pioneering and groundbreaking film. A
Mm,
film that our country would feel proud of. When Ye Jawani Hai Diwani released, I was 29 years old. And now when Brahmastra releases, I will be 39. I could never have imagined that 10 years of my life would be spent solely in pursuing the vision of Brahmastra. But I truly believe that all this time and energy was needed to
Yeah.
create a truly high quality, once in a lifetime experience
mm,
for our audiences with Brahmastra.
wow. Cannot. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. It's unbelievable, and I'm just so glad that he explained to people how long this stuff really takes and how much work it really entails, because I think that we've had so many blockbuster films with so many amazing effects, And there might be an impression that it's something that you can kind of snap your fingers and make happen. And we can clearly see, not only is that not the case when it comes to film production, but it also isn't the case when it comes to even writing this stuff and trying to figure out how you're going to accomplish this goal. A little bit of the production, where you can see the boom holding some of the special effects, the practical effects mixed with
Yeah.
effects, and they're letting you see just a little bit of that there,
Yes.
just so you can understand. I mean, we understand it, but sometimes it's good to see this stuff because it was so many takes, so many people involved in so many of these shots. These are not simple shots. These are really complicated motion shots where the actor has to be on point.
Mm-hmm.
The ball of fire, if you will, or whatever, however it manifests itself, that particular astra has to be on point. The lighting on him has to be on point. There's so many factors in this involved, and even his reaction on his face as he casts the astra in a direction that it's going
Mm-hmm.
has to make sense. It has to look right. They paid so much attention to detail to this. This shot probably took a week to do, maybe just the holding of the astra in the person's hand, and then repeating those motions over again. And it just really was a lot. And seeing him from 2016 trying to figure out how we're going to
Yeah, look
develop
at this.
a natural look, to make it look like it's natural. They don't want it to look artificial. This is more of a natural power, isn't it, Lorena?
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It should look like it's natural fire. It should look and behave, like fire. So even with this shot in 2016 when they did it, 2012, and then you look at this now, it's like on steroids.
Yes.
When you see it, it's gone from, oh, it looks really cool, to
Mhm.
your mind is just blown. And it just, before it was like, kind of like graceful fire, like, oh, okay, it's a fire astra. And then you look at this, like, that is power right there. That is mystical power. And I am just so glad with how much detail has been paid to this, because I'm sorry, go ahead.
And the other thing, Lorena, that we found out, let's say right where you are at the video here, is that this young man has been making movies for a long time, and he talks about the first film he made and how old he was and how many years
Hmm.
he worked on that one. Probably about 4 or 5 years, especially if it has special effects like this. These films can
Hmm.
take quite a few years to make, maybe 4 years to get everything right. So
Hmm.
he's not just hopping in on the team in one uh let's say for with one hat. He's kind of, and I'm not going to say he's George Lucas, but let's just say that he comes up with the idea of everything, and then he has to execute that, and then film it. And I'm guessing he probably edits or is involved in the editing process. Boy, he sure has a lot on his shoulders, Lorena. This is his vision from beginning to end.
It is, and in a way, I'll piggyback off of that. I will actually compare him to George Lucas, because Lucas had a crazy idea in the beginning, and his hands were in everything, the story, what the effects should look like, to the point where one of the things that came out of Lucasfilm was Industrial Light and Magic, ILM, and they are literally the VFX standard, around the world. They kind of basically wrote the book on how to do all of that. But he is in everything, and this kind of this creativity and the discipline and the patience to bring that to fruition, along with a love for storytelling. And I think that's really the crux of it. No matter what your effects are, if that love for storytelling isn't there, you're not going to engage audiences. And you just listen to him talk with so much passion about this project and how long he's been working on it and how proud he is, you know, of it. It makes you want to, like, okay, I just want to see it. I just want to see it too, you know?
Certainly, he does. It is exciting. I mean, there's actually a lot of enthusiasm and talent coming from this man, who, of course, he talks about his younger days, and now when this comes out, I guess he's still very young, honestly. For
Yeah, he is. I think he's 37,
Yeah, that's
I
super young.
think. Yeah.
So, he's kind of talking about his age, and I'm kind of laughing only because India has such a long history of cinema, and that there are people who are working in cinema who are in their 70s and 80s, and still
Mm,
very prolific and have had such long careers that he's just a baby when it comes to just even in Indian cinema. And this is something. And of course, what we're talking about is a new step in direction for Indian cinema, isn't it, Lorena?
absolutely. Absolutely. It's something we've seen the stories, like you and I have watched, have watched some of the Indian films, and kind of like the sample that we've gotten is we've gotten, the classic, so to speak, where people just like, this has pretty much been around forever, but you want to watch this, to something so ultra modern, like RRR, something that is set in the 80s, but the storyline and the effects are incredible, like in, the KGF chapters 1 and 2. It's brought Indian cinema to the notice of a lot of Americans. It's not like just an international film that you might want to check out once in a while. This is a film, or these series of films are films that can seriously compete, and not only just compete, surpass what's coming out of Hollywood. So it's a totally new playing field, and we're really really glad that they're here because we get all of these amazing stories. But yes, it is definitely a change. It's bringing it, I would say, bringing it from something that is niche to bringing it into the mainstream for us, as if the same mainstream as, like, say, British films, like we'll say like the 007 franchise, or things like that. So I'm so excited about this, excited about the detail and the length of putting these together, because as you see here, it's a darn trilogy.
Yes, and this isn't. What's funny is that we've been seeing, and you and I talked about seeing a lot of, these announcements and press
Mhm.
conferences about all these other films that may or may not be coming out, but we know these are coming out. There isn't that sense of concern as to whether anything is going to be happening with this. We
Mhm.
know this young gentleman is going to follow through on this. Part one, of course, is the one that he was showing us that's going to be released on September 9th. And I suspect he's already working on two, if not three, Lorena.
Mhm. I would agree. I would agree, because you have that first one. That's the one that takes the most work. That's your foundation. Like, for example, Star Wars A New Hope. That first one, from that, everything else came from. So he's probably back to, I guess, after the press junket, or he probably has been writing those part two and part three. Some of those might be written simultaneously, kind of like notes on the side, like, okay, idea for this, idea for two, idea for three. Maybe it'll cross here, maybe it won't. I would love to see his writer's notes. I really would.
I can assure you, Lorena, they probably are incredibly detailed with a lot of subtext, and a lot of sub content, and just so much information, because you'd have to make something like this come to fruition. It is not a small undertaking. As he said, he's been doing this for I don't know how many years, 8 or 9 years, thinking about
Hmm.
this idea in his head. It certainly is an ambitious project. So far, what we've seen, it looks spectacular, and it's literally going to be coming out in a few weeks. I saw that you've got your ticket, Lorena, on your community page. Was it Fandango?
Yeah, the Fandango alert. So I went and looked, because I'm like, is this here? Is it really real what they said? And sure enough, I could search it. No showtimes yet, but I could search it and at least see that yes, it's in the app. Fandango, Regal, theaters, with their apps should be listing Brahmastra as a coming soon film. So it's very exciting to see it there. Kind of makes it real, a little bit realer once I can actually physically purchase a ticket, but
Absolutely.
seeing it is just, it's such a rush. I can't. Oh my God, I cannot wait to
God,
see
God, look at that. Um,
these effects.
You know something, Lorena? The other thing is that this is incredibly exciting, and this hasn't been the exact type of summer that we would expect from sort of like a summer blockbuster kind of summer. We
True.
haven't been having that, and early in the year, at least for the two films that stood out for me, obviously are the ones that I watched with you, which is RRR and KGF.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that that is telling us not just that Indian cinema is fantastic, but the stories are incredible. And I expect nothing less from Brahmastra because of just the tradition of what he's talking about. Here, he talked about how he wanted to focus on gods and lore of India, and
Hmm.
it's incredible. I know we watched another trailer where they had a god with the multiple heads, and that one really grabbed my attention for some reason. Not just because it had multiple heads, but it was the execution of it all.
Hmm.
The god was enormous. It was Shiva, I think, or maybe not, but.
I
So
think
forgive
it was. I think it was Dave. I think. Oh gosh,
Debbie.
I'm blanking. Someone said in the credits, in the comments, what it was, and I think it started with a D, and now I'm having a brain fart. But
No, it's
just
okay.
the way that it looked and the artwork that it looked, it just you couldn't help but stop and stop and look at it. But one of the things that I really like about this is, while when you see things like how you can see him directing, how he's putting the effects together, that was so cool. It's so cool. He just looks so,
Yes.
he looks like Spielberg. I'm gonna
Yes,
say
it's
that, just with that,
constantly
just with like
true.
how how intent he is with
Yes.
what's going on. And one of the things that I like about this is that he's using state of the art technology that he has access to create something that's very different, something that is rooted in his culture, and brings it, you know, to the world. It's almost like with Bruce Lee. He wanted to bring Chinese culture and kung fu movies to American audiences, and he studied that filmmaking. And now it's like I can't imagine growing up not watching a kung fu movie, because you loved the storyline, you loved, the fight choreography, and it didn't matter that it was another culture. It was a story that brought you in because of those strong fundamentals of storytelling.
Absolutely. And I was speaking to someone the other day about a famous film that had been released, and I said, even though the film focused on a particular topic, the thing that you remember is the story that they told, this love story. And what's
Hmm.
interesting about this movie is that it also has a love story, Lorena.
Absolutely, absolutely. A gorgeous love story. And from what I understand, it actually mirrors, and forgive me, y'all, if I get the names wrong, but um, in Indian lore, is that Shiva and I think it's Parvati,
Hmm.
that actually coded in their lore of the romance between the two of them. And that's something that's being brought out here in this film. So I heard about that. I'm like, okay, all right. That makes sense, and something that I can't wait to see. Because how, if you love love stories, it doesn't matter what culture it comes from. Those fundamentals are there, and I cannot wait to see it in this film. Oh my God, that's such a gorgeous shot.
And I also think that by him letting us know that he really is also committed to telling the story the right way. It's a certain responsibility that he has when he thought of this, and he doesn't want it to see it, not be portrayed correctly. He feels that he owes a certain responsibility to the viewer to tell you what you're going to expect, and that you're actually going to get what he is proposing is going to be in the film. So in other words, he's not advertising one thing and then suggest the idea that we might get something different. That's not
Right.
the case with this film, and it is so refreshing, Lorena, to know exactly what we are getting in this film.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Ayan Mukherjee, I believe I apologize if I completely screwed up your name. But I think it's just very important to know that the director's name is Ayan Mukherjee, and he's been working on this for I don't know how long. I am excited, and you're right. It is refreshing to hear a director tell you this is what I plan to give you because this is what I poured my heart and soul into. I hope you enjoy it. This is what you are to expect. When's the last time Kevin Feige actually said, this is what you're going to expect? You couldn't have done it for the Eternals, but anyway, but to get that, it's like you don't really get that. So to basically be informed, you're going to get this amazing story that I can't wait, to tell you. You're just like, wow, okay. Worst case scenario, you don't deliver, but at least you kind of you set that up. You set that up for us. So I cannot wait to see this. I think this guy is definitely someone to watch. I think he's definitely somebody to watch. Cannot wait until this movie finally hits US theaters on September 9th. And it's saying India's biggest, most ambitious
Wow.
film. But I will say this, there are those of us in the US here who are rooting for this and
Yes.
cannot wait to see this. So man,
It's so
cannot it really is. The more I see it, the more I'm just like, okay, can it just show up so we
I
can
know.
so
I
we can watch it, you
I don't
know?
want the summer to end, but that's when it's coming out. And I know it was supposed to be released before, and I guess maybe they had to push it back a little bit. But
Mhm.
I'm so excited for it. It's gonna be maybe the trifecta of KGF 2 came out this year, Lorena.
Yes,
Okay,
KGF 2 came out this
so
year.
this is be our trifecta film from RRR to KGF 2 and then to Brahmastra. Um,
Yes.
yeah, this is just phenomenal what we're getting in regards to these films.
Mhm.
And the stars who are in the film, who are also a couple, is very romantic. This is going to be something that is really setting a precedent for something we just haven't seen before. Um, so that is also very exciting, and I think this one might be the one that breaks the records worldwide. Not just overseas, but I think also here it'll make a splash, and people will find it incredible and just be so
Mhm.
amazed by what he's been able to do. Because I know I've already been impressed by the trailers.
Yeah, it's remember when the trailers used to be like that?
Yeah,
Where they were just mind blowing, didn't give away the whole story, but gave you enough to say, I shut up and take my money. I have to see it. And this movie has the potential to be the first Indian movie that American audiences as a whole get to see in the theater and be exposed to just how wonderful Indian cinema is. So, very, very glad that Disney is doing the distribution on this. This
yeah.
actually is created by Fox Star Studios over in India. So, cannot wait for September 9th. So, folks, please let us know in the comments. What do you think? I mean, you guys have been waiting for us to react to this. Do you think this is going to do Indian culture justice? Are you excited that this movie is actually going to be released in the United States and Canada? And Canada, I got to add that. Got to add that as well. And yeah, let us know. Let us know because we're excited to see it. We've been spreading the word about it, and word has been catching on in the YouTube sphere with a lot of influencers here in the U.S. and Canada about this film. So we cannot wait to hear from you.
Yes.
So, folks, with that said, we're going to wrap this video up. If you got some value out of it, please do hit that like button, and we will see you next time. Bye.